He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minutes!
Hello, citizens of fair Gotham, and welcome once more to Bat Minute of the Phantasm, the show that is like a kiss from a rose on the grey. Not grave, grey! Get it right. To be fair, I got it wrong for years. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
Yeah, I'm here just so happy it's back. The roses and grave talk and grey and all that. It's like, hey, it's been a whole season since we got to talk about that. That's me. Oh my god.
That means this episode, we have to do your old outro.
Yeah. I should.
Yeah. It's getting tacked on, baby.
Yeah.
But we are joined once more by our wonderful guest this week. It's Johnny and Travis.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hello.
Just a hello, not a there.
Yeah, no, because you got me thinking about it.
Oh, no. We meant it in a loving way.
And just like next time I ask you, I was like, no, you ruined it. You ruined my whole thing.
That was it.
I hate you guys.
It's gone.
Retiring the hello there.
No, I'm sorry. We'll just cancel our show in protest.
Protesting our own action. It's like, it already happened. You can't do anything about it.
But we are here to talk about Minute 9. The minute starts with a nope, and it ends with a nope.
Yeah. Starts with a mope. I'll tell you that.
And a mope.
Yeah.
A mope nope.
I love the fact that it's an empty, closed-off room. It's as if, like, the master's moping room is strictly off limits. Just keep everyone out of there.
Hey, if I was rich, the first thing I would do is get a moping room.
The Sulkatorium is.
Oh, yeah. Imagine how much better you would feel if you had somewhere to sulk. And then you could come back into your normal world after that.
Yeah. I know, Travis, you specifically asked for these minutes. I'm assuming it wasn't because you liked seeing Bruce get wine thrown in his face. I'm assuming it had something to do with him nipping out of the party. Was that what you're going for, or what? It's
part of it. So it all connects. It's all connected, if you will. I just made that up. So yeah,
They're trademarking it online. It's like, oh shit, we never did it.
Exactly.
We ruined your intro. Now you're taking our catchphrase. This means war.
So yeah, we covered this movie on my show, and we do this thing at the end of the movie where, because we're talking about comic book movies and the show is called Real Comic Heroes, we pick the most heroic moment of the movie. And this was actually my most heroic moment because it ties into a larger thing. There's something about this movie where you see Bruce leave this party and he steps into this room and he just collapses against the door, and this look on his face, it just conveys so much more to me, almost than any Batman moment, that what this guy has to do to be Batman. He sacrifices Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne often looks like a fool, and even in this animated series, he's often has to play, Bruce Wayne, the character, as just a chump almost. And it's no different here. And to see, this private moment with Bruce, it just weighs on him. And, Christian Bale's Batman gets to this point as well when he's bringing the ladies to the restaurant and they're playing in the pool, and he runs into Rachel, and he has that kind of same moment where he has to suddenly be like, oh, this isn't me, I'm not this vapid, guy. Pattinson gets there a little bit as well, I think, but this, I don't know, this might be my favorite Batman moment of all time.
Oh,
because it's just this. You can just see what this guy has to do. What he has to give up.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's just the expression on his face too is the fact that it's all so raw as well. This is like not bringing up Andrea, and you kind of get that thing of him internally saying her name, like, oh, I haven't thought about that in a while.
Yeah,
and then going in and seeing just to look at the parents' painting, it's just like, yeah, it's just all. It looks like as if it just happened yesterday. And it's like it's been 10 years, and an additional 10 years on top of that. Like, man, get over it. It's like, no, he's like properly deranged in his own way. It's just like, we'll never get any better for him and stuff.
Yeah, because it's almost like he has a brief moment where you can just tell he's thinking, God damn, being Batman sucks.
And on top of that, he's got to basically be a fake Bruce Wayne. So he has to remove himself from that party to like feel free and like he can sort of wind down a little bit. So I think that's another like double whammy of like, when does he get to be himself?
Yeah, he has like
very little time.
Concrete identity. He split himself between like what could be the real him, what is Bruce Wayne that he plays, and who is Batman.
We see the real Bruce Wayne, you know, when this scene flashes back and you get the segments of younger Bruce throughout this movie. And then once he puts that mask on with Alfred in the cave, this younger kid who, you know, still wants to make it work and have it both ways. That guy's gone.
Yeah. Is there a version, because I haven't read all Batman comics and stuff, and obviously, is there a version of Bruce, I can't imagine this would work, that likes this phony lifestyle? Like, he actually wants to live that?
No. Unless maybe Adam West. He kind of seems to enjoy.
Right.
Like, he always had a good time. Like because he was the Bright Knight.
That's
true.
There's
I think even at the Return of the Caped Crusaders, one of the two of those ends with like a party at Wayne Manor, where Batman shows up to be auctioned off as like, win a date with Bat, and the way he struts out, he's really like, you can tell he's having a good time. But I'm like, that's right, I'm just getting in on the fun and stuff. So I know his Batman was very serious and stuff, and he always took things very seriously, old chum. But I think he also was like, well, I go out and I wine and dine, and I enjoy that aspect of my life, but also I have to do this as well. I think he had his priorities like straight, but he didn't mind indulging in a game of backgammon and all this kind of thing.
I feel like fancy. As the time goes on and like they redo or revamp Batman through the years, it just gets more and more Batman, less Bruce. They like lean further into the darkness of Batman and shy away from like portrayals like this of like getting to see him be the playboy.
Yeah.
I mean that in like in a consistent way. Like, yeah, we'll see Ben Affleck's Batman do his thing, like whatever, but we're leaning more into the darkness and the depression and quite frankly, like trauma and anxiety that come to Batman. So much so that I wish that this is like a pipe dream, but I wish that they would like do like more of when he discusses fear with like Sinestro, of like how it's all rooted in his own fear of everything. As opposed to like, you see him and on the surface of like you looking at Batman, you're like, oh, he's just angry. And like a lot of people like, I guess like lay people who don't do comic stuff, they're like, oh, he's just mad. And like his parents got murdered and like he's messed up. And like, but it's literally a tiny boy, his inner child's fear that keeps him going like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the great version of it recently in the Harley Quinn TV show, which is always so strange because it's like, oh, it's a kind of crazy show, but the amount of genuinely good Gotham-based stories in it, they're like, holy Christ, if you did that as a straight like film, that would be amazing and stuff. But they did a one where Poison Ivy's pet plant Frank had been abducted. It turns out it's by Bruce Wayne, one voiced by Leon from Curb. And they discover it's Bruce Wayne, so then they go around and they get Dr. Psycho, who can like go inside people's minds. They go inside the mind of Bruce Wayne, and it's great because it's not Kevin Conroy voicing him or anything, but when they go inside, it's what do you call him, the other guy, Diedrich Bader.
Oh yeah.
And they go inside, and it's literally the inside of his mind is animated the same way as the Batman animated series, like the red sky, all that stuff.
Nice.
And then they go in, they're like, okay, so you see his parents get murdered. They're like, oh yeah, that's the big thing with Bruce Wayne. And then they just see it happen again and again and again and again. And they're just like, well, where's all the other memories? And then the Talker's like, I think he's repressed every other memory except this one. And it's just like, and then they end up getting like chased throughout Bruce Wayne's mind by Joe Chill. But it doesn't look like, it's like a guy, just a kind of creepy looking guy in a mask. And they're just like, holy, we can't get rid of this guy and stuff. And there's a whole lot of shenanigans where Harley becomes Robin, and it kind of goes really crazy and stuff. But it starts very much delving into Batman as a character and how deranged that is. Like Harley Quinn having a conversation with young Bruce Wayne. Because in order to get him out of the cycle, she has to like come and like go like, all right, look away, kid. So when the parents get shot, he he doesn't witness it, so he's kind of together enough to help her terrain his own mind and all this sort of stuff. It's a really great story. They throw in a load of jokes, but it's actually solid, Batman material.
That sounds great.
And also they throw on top of that, because throughout the series, Clayface has been cast as Thomas Wayne in a biopic. So he keeps trying to ask Thomas Wayne like motivational stuff. And then eventually he's just stunned to find out that Thomas Wayne has a mustache. And they had the great joke at the end. He's like, "Oh, we can add the mustache in post as it gets a knock of the Justice League."
It worked perfectly in that, right?
Although, and the time of that too, because going in and I've been reading up lately on the comic sequels to Mask of the Phantasm. There was 2, Shadow of the Phantasm, and then there's a kind of one throughout Batman Adventures. And there's actually a great little side story where called Face to Face, which is a bit like it's been done, like
sure. Yeah, but what a reference.
Yeah. I think like at least 50% of Two-Face stories are probably called Face to Face as well.
True.
But the thing is, so Bruce going in and looking at the portrait of his father throughout the storyline in the Batman Adventures run, there's like a 4-issue arc where Phantasm recurs. And Bruce has to go undercover as Matches Malone to infiltrate the False Face Society. This is all in DC Universe. You can get this all very easily nowadays. Highly recommend looking it up. And Bruce, they have a little side story called Face to Face by Ty Templeton, where Bruce is just talking about like, I go out and I put on the Matches Malone disguise, and he tells you Matches Malone came from a guy he knew who actually got killed. And then Bruce, he looked enough like him, was like, I can just keep this guy going, pretend I'm him, and that'll be my undercover and when I need to infiltrate the underworld kind of thing. But his big thing is like, I can never look at myself when I'm Matches Malone. And you find out at the end, this is like the worst part about it, it's the mustache. Because when I put on that mustache and I look in the mirror, I just look like my dad. And he's just, the drawing of it's fantastic, because it's just him looking in the mirror and just the devastation still on his face, and just seeing his father's reflection looking back at him. And then like the last panel is like, and that's the thing I'm not ready to face, and just putting on the sunglasses so he kind of blocks out what he looks like and stuff. And it's it's all very well done. It's just as if there's legs of this Batman character, and you can do what with him, But
I think I've read that story or that run. Was it tied into the Kyle Higgins, like, it was like a Batman Beyond, like, continuation in comics? I thought maybe did something like that with.
I'm not too sure. I know this was the one that got canceled before, because it was bringing in all stuff into the DCAU, so it had like Red Hood showed up in it, and Black Mask was there, and all this kind of stuff. But I'm not too sure. But it would have been tied in, I guess, to Batman Beyond in that way, but that would have been way further down the storyline and stuff. But yeah.
I love the Matches Malone identity. I love that aspect, and the few times you get it in the animated series, I'd love for them to do that in a movie. Yeah.
That's all. Yeah, the thing now, like Robert Pattinson doing it, because it would be just like, well, that's Edward from Twilight. Like people of Gotham going like, I know that guy. What I really do want to bring up though, because we didn't mention it last week, and you get a prime example of it in this minute, is just the way that Kevin Conroy actually does the voice for Bruce and Batman, and the way it interchanges, because noticeably Bruce Wayne's actual voice is Batman's voice. Like when he was in the Batcave and he's like, oh, it's a piece of windshield from Chucky Saul's car. And that's just the way he sounds. That's the way he talks. And you see it when he walks into this room, his internal monologue is like, Andrea. Like it's the Batman voice.
Right.
But then it's because obviously Michael Keaton, he had his disguised kind of like and then normal Michael Keaton speak, but Kevin Conroy really takes on two entirely different personalities, where it's both seems logically like that could be a guy's voice. It's just that he happens to have two, and it is very weird because then when you get into like the flashback and stuff, when he's talking to Andrea, he does have a kind of lighter lilt to his voice, but then at one point, this will be going into next week, but. When he's like, "Oh, have you kept your vow?" and he goes into "so far," it's like the Batman voice is there. It's just like, what is happening with this guy? Is it actually is this mentally mixed up that he's slipping into new voices as he's working out who he is and stuff?
Well, plus I don't know. So the Andrea stuff is sort of harkening back to a time before he was as broken. Isn't it? I mean, obviously he lost his family, but the stuff that happened with her broke him even more. Yeah. So maybe when he, in the past he would have had a lighter lilt to his voice and things like that.
Well, he like softened with her because even Alfred was asking about like when they rekindled things later, right? Of what's going to happen to the Batman.
Yeah,
it's like, what are you going to choose? What side of you are you going to pursue from now on?
Yeah, which voice should I be used to bossing me around? So that's what I'm saying.
Somehow, even though that exact story is in most Batman things, I never get bored of it.
Yeah,
because I feel like it's always different, and I feel like this one is the one that I would have been like, okay, maybe he's gonna give it up. Like, this is the one. The other ones, I'm like, she's not important enough, or like, whatever. The only other person, because I'm selfish, is Selena, because I love Catwoman. But
they would. I mean, I love her as well.
But he's not going to have to give it up for her. That's the difference.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was like, it seems as if Vicky Vale, what we cover, is like, he's just going to go on being Batman, but he'll just have a girlfriend now. And then Selena's more like, they can help fix each other, and he'll still.
They'll probably make each other worse, to be honest.
Yeah. But I don't think he's ever going to give it up. It's more like, but we can be together. We can sort of we're the same, so we can kind of stew in this shared psychosis, I guess, that we've got going on. Then Chase Meridian was like, he wasn't looking to give it up with. Chase Meridian was on the kind of the path to curing him, basically. But it was also then at the end, he's like, well, I'm not Batman now because I have to be, but because I choose to be. Yeah. And then it's like, well, you're still going to go on being Batman, even with Chase Meridian. But yeah, there's very, very distinctly in this movie, I get 100% the vibe that if things worked out with Andre, it's like, no, I was been crazy with that. That's what a ridiculous idea. Like, why did I think that was a good thing? Who would do that? You have to be a complete nut job to just jump around in a cape at night and stuff. But,
well, do you think when he looks at the picture of his parents here, again, it's hard to say because it's animation, do you think this is maybe he feels like a little bit, he's let his parents down by not staying with Andrea, raising a family, being the person they would have wanted him to be?
That is the great continuing torment for Bruce throughout the series is he can't talk to his parents. He can't ask them, am I doing the right thing? Is this what you wanted? In this movie, he'll, go to their grave a little bit later and, ask why he can't be happy. And he sees signs that he needs to do this thing and become Batman. And a few times throughout the series, he'll kind of have visions of his parents or relive their murder and things like that. And it's just this constant weight that's on him that he feels this guilt, of not.
It's still like the ultimate burn on Bruce Wayne is in Batman Begins when Rachel says to him, like, your father would be ashamed of you. Because it's just like, you can't say that to him. Jeez. And then at the end, she kind of takes it back, like, no, your father would be very proud of you. And it's like, oh, thank God. Because the thing is, he could never ask them. He's like, I don't know. If you tell me my father would have been ashamed of me, maybe he would have been. I don't know.
That would crush him, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It's like, I know my perception, but like maybe you saw a different aspect where you think, like, no, I knew your father and he would be ashamed of you about this. And,
I also got some Michael Keaton vibes in that I don't think this Bruce does fit this mold, but it just the way this is done, it feels like he doesn't use this room very much. Like that fireplace hasn't been touched. It's clean as a whistle.
I just got Alfred Pennyworth there. You're damn right, it's clean as a whistle.
I think he
Well,
only...
that's what I was talking about earlier. Just these rooms with like they're massive, and it's like nice place, lots of space. Yeah. I don't think he comes in here that often, but maybe it was the closest room to this party, and he just needed to get out of the party, and he just happened to walk into his father's study, or whatever this room is.
Yeah.
But
Maybe it wasn't a deliberate choice. That's a good point.
I think that Travis, you saying like, "Oh, this is your favorite Batman moment of all." And I was like, this is the most relatable Batman's ever been to me. Because like, I too go into rooms during parties just to get away from things for a little bit.
yeah,
Just the comfort of the quiet, the hearing the party going on elsewhere, but you're like, oh, thank God. Okay. Now I can calm down for a second. It's kind of thing you get on YouTube now. Because I've started looking into like, ambient soundtracks.
Yeah.
For like when you're reading and stuff. It's great. You can get like the sounds of Halloween 3. Just playing in the background and stuff.
I won't read anything now without some kind of music. I don't mean music like I'm listening to The Clash.
Yeah.
I mean like just ambient kind of nice
I listen to
sounds.
film scores a lot if I'm reading.
Yeah. Like I've
been reading the novelization of Prince of Thieves, so I put on the Prince of Thieves.
I bet
score,
that makes everything more epic.
read.
You're like, yes.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does.
I do it if I'm reading a Batman comic. I just pick at random one of the movie soundtracks. I'm like, there you go. That'll do.
I do the same thing with like film scores. That I'll have a Marvel film score playlist if I'm reading Marvel comics. I've got a DC one if I'm reading DC.
Hey, great idea.
I think I would put on like goth rock, like ambient goth rock, if I was reading Batman.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
It's
could get in that
Bauhaus
headspace.
instrumentals and stuff. Yeah. That's I just imagine you, Johnny, sitting reading like the Austin Powers novelization with like like that weird BBC song he kept using in the background.
Yeah, I was like, just on a loop, just the same song, or just Soul Bossa Nova over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It's my life now.
But so what we. I'm trying to remember how we got onto that.
I don't know, but we were talking about the fireplace and things, and here's another thing I've got about the picture. Maybe it's just me, but I thought this version of Thomas Wayne always reminds me like he looks a bit like Jim Gordon.
It does. It does look like Jim Gordon.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I thought,
for
is
sure.
that deliberate? Like, because Jim Gordon's a bit of a father figure.
Yeah.
You know?
There's an episode where Jim Gordon is shot, and it's very heavily implied that Batman thinks of him as his dad, basically. Yeah. So yeah, I'd say it's probably intentional that he does look like a bit of a mix between Bruce and Jim Gordon. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, good thing that one good cop in Gotham looked like my dad. That's really handy.
It's a miracle.
Thank God for that.
Even then, it's like calling back to him needing a father's validation. Like Jim validates Batman where no one else can, because like Alfred just goes along with the whole shtick, and he's like there, and he's like, okay, I'm supportive because I have to be, but I really don't like that you're doing this. But then Jim is like the support Batman. Like Batman doesn't kill. Batman does the right thing. He's the one like championing that persona side of Bruce as a father figure.
That's one of my favorite things about the Batman was just like the unquestioning relationship between. You never see how those guys hooked up in that version of the universe, but it's so like we 100% trust each other. Like when they're going through the corrupt cops, and I think at one point Gordon's like, "You don't think it's me?" And like Batman's like, "Nope." And later on, it's just like, "Well, you got my back, right, Jim?" Like, yeah. He's just 100% like, I know all these cops think I'm crazy for wanting to hook up with you, but I trust you more than I trust them. And it's just like, I love that they just get into. Plus, I just love them calling him man and chief all the time. Just going like, hey, chief. It's like that's a side of a relationship I've never seen before. But it's so refreshing, particularly after we spent so long with Pat Hingle, to be like, hey, there it is, baby. Yeah. What they just want to bring up though is because we never we've dotted around Kevin Conroy. The late great, tragically now, as we're getting ready to record, it's like, he's November 2022, sadly gone. But like, we haven't really got into him much as a performer yet. Like, who is he? What's his deal? Where does he come from? What's his name and stuff? He is much like Beetlejuice. He attended the Juilliard. But no word on how many times he saw The Exorcist. But we'll just have to we just have to take that hit, I guess. So got a very difficult upbringing, but attended Juilliard. Used to share a room with Robin Williams.
Oh,
yeah.
Just what the hell was that like? Like, that seems like that either would be like fun to the point of being annoying, or very depressing, because I guess you can't really tell with Robin Williams now. That's, the legacy is like, I guess he was. I don't know what hanging out with Robin Williams would have been like.
I don't know. I always got the vibe he would outwardly to people put on the act of Robin Williams. Like, I don't know if he would be too, down and stuff around others, would he?
Yeah. Although you never know, he could be coming into, like, this is where Kevin Conroy's channeling this energy from. Is like, yep, Robin Williams is up, and Robin Williams comes back to the dorm, and it's just like, and like just standing looking at the window or something in the bedroom with him, just like, okay, yeah. I like though it continues our weird roommate scenario, or people you just wouldn't have assumed.
Tommy Lee Jones
and Al Gore. And then freaking Danny DeVito and Michael Douglas and stuff. It's like, all these guys didn't know each other. This is bizarre. Because, Kevin Conroy was roommates with Robin Williams, and they hung out with Kelsey Grammer. And I was like, the voice-off that would have been going on there. Kevin Conroy and Kelsey Grammer in a room together, like, just talking would be just amazing. And the big thing was that he was in Juilliard. He studied directly under another fantastic voice, John Houseman, who, like, big theater guy, and dates way back into old Hollywood. Like, he was friends with Orson Welles, and he set up. I think he met Orson Welles on like his second short movie before Citizen Kane, which was called Too Much Johnson.
Oh! This is a family show.
Which nowadays sounds like that could either be a blaxploitation thing or like a Kevin Hart family movie that also stars Dwayne Johnson. It's like, there's too much Johnson in this movie. I want more Kevin Hart.
Johnson galore.
Yeah. But Houseman started the acting company, and other members included Frances Conroy, no relation, but obviously Ruth from 6 Feet Under. Keith David, another amazing voice, friggin'. Keith David, from the guy Roddy Piper fights in They Live. Put the damn glasses on.
One of the greatest scenes of all time.
Yeah. Kevin Kline, David Ogden Stiers, who go on to voice the Penguin. Not because obviously Paul Williams in the animated series, and then Return of the Batwoman, or the Mystery of the Batwoman, the animated movie. David Ogden Stiers takes over, and Rainn Wilson, also from that company, and Jeffrey Wright, our current Commissioner Gordon, also comes from John Houseman's acting troupe. And if anyone ever wants to look up anything about John Houseman, is that the opening scene of The Fog, great John Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
The opening 5 minutes is basically John Houseman on a beach telling a lot of kids a story, like at night, and he's just telling them the legend that leads to like why there are ghost pirates in the fog. And it's just like, that's all you need. You didn't need the rest of the movie. You just needed 5 minutes of John Houseman being like, yes, the mast snapped like a twig and all this, but it's just like so captivating and stuff. But yeah, also then Conroy goes from stage guy, goes in then to movies. First movie he was in was How to Pick Up Girls, ! So it'll be featuring on I Do Declare at some time. He co-stars that with Abe Vigoda, who's in this very movie. So,
Nice.
Yeah, that's a bizarre coincidence. What Abe Vigoda's doing in a sex comedy back when he was like 85. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's unique.
Yeah. And then from after that, then he gets in these. Most of the people in this movie all have some claim to fame in soap operas. So he was in Another World for a while. He played Ted Kennedy in a TV biopic of JFK called Kennedy. And weird enough, John O'Shea played Robert Kennedy. John O'Shea been Dean Kane's Lex Luthor from the 90s Superman. I was like, oh, that's a weird one. But then, Dynasty, Matlock, Spencer for Hire, something called Hi Honey, I'm Dead
Great name. I want to watch that immediately.
Yeah, it actually features. It's about he plays like some yuppie asshole who ends up dying, and then he gets reincarnated as Curtis Armstrong, who the guy, character, sort of quote unquote ugly character actor Curtis Armstrong.
Yeah,
Booger from Revenge of the Nerds, and he's in. We talked about him in Jingle All the Way and stuff. John, he's the guy in the pink. What do you call him? The Turbo Man sidekick, the pink Booster. He's Booster in that. And then Curtis Armstrong is reincarnated with Kevin Conroy's spirit, and then he has to go and like win over his wife again. His wife's played by Catherine Hicks from Star Trek: The Voyage Home, the lady who flirts with Captain Kirk, and then basically when she gets to the future, tells him to go himself. It's like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's his son. Which I guess everything connected, he was Chris Nolan's Robin kind of and stuff. And from that then, he was in like episodes of Cheers, stuff like that. And eventually just got a random call from his agent to come in for an animated Batman thing they were doing. And I just love his, he's told the variations of the story many, many times about how he got in. There's certain elements of it we'll cover later on in the show because he brings so many different aspects to his performance. They're deeply personal to him and stuff. But he said one of his quotes was just, I did a cold audition. I'd never done an animated voice before. I said the only exposure I've had is the Adam West show from the 60s. And they said, no, that's not it. Think it's film noir. It's like 1940s New York. Think dark. Think a kid who just watched his parents get murdered and spends his life avenging their deaths as he lives in the shadows. He's got this dual personality, and he's never resolved this torture of his youth. And I said, are you telling the Hamlet story? Because that's heavy stuff. And they said, yeah. Like, no one has ever said that before, but I guess it is Hamlet. It's like a classic archetypal Shakespearean tragedy. So I used my theater training and put myself into that head. And then apparently he starts doing the Batman voice. And I got into this very heavy, dark place and came up with this voice. And as I did it, I saw them running around the theater. And I thought I either did really something bad or something like really good. And I hit a nerve. And I know I hit a nerve. They came out and said, we've seen 600 people. You've got the part. So went pretty well for him. And then it went up going well for him for 30 straight years where he played Batman about 15 billion times.
You'd think he would have got bored of it, but no.
No, he never did. He always brought it too. He was always like, it was one of those things that just kind of got to the point like, well, the voice of Batman was amazing. Like, oh, well, yeah,
Well, I think with the time he did this, it was a paying job. And it sounds like it also helped him maybe work through some stuff. I hope it did. But then when the people like us who watched it as young people, we grow up and now we're like, we want Kevin Conroy again. And so he gets, voice cast in the video games and then newer animated movies. And so I'm glad he got to see that people loved him so much and just wanted more of him as Batman, so I love that he had this resurgence the last, decade or so and just really was embraced by the fan. No one's ever had a bad thing to say about Kevin Conroy as Batman. And I'm glad he got to be a part of that. And I'm glad he got to, I kind of thank Kevin Smith a little bit for just bringing him on like the podcast and giving him places to actually speak about his experience. So
So I know my brother did because he's an artist and he did a Comic-Con in Dublin. And he said, like, he had the stall set up like to see through like the auditorium. And he was just like, just seeing Kevin Conroy just getting up on stage. And he always opens with like, I am vengeance. I am the night. I am. And just the crowd going fucking nuts for it. And just Kevin Conroy just been like, I love it. It's every time. It always gets them. So.
I always like it when people are that enthusiastic about what they've done because they have every right to be bored of it and sick of it and don't want it. But it's so nice. Like I know for a few years he was the opposite, but nowadays Mark Hamill. There was a few years there where he didn't want to talk about it, but then he's like he's just like, oh, I love it.
I was going to say, I've gotten to see Ian McDiarmid at a Indiana Comic-Con, and seeing him talk about being the emperor and everything, I think he's kind of got a little bit of that. Like, he likes playing that character and likes just doing that voice. And being that creepy old man.
Yeah. I mean, we get to ham it up to that extent. It's just like, this is what you get into the theater for. Is to just be like, no.
Well, back in the minute, I suppose. It's flashback time. Wavy screen. Whoa.
Before we get into just want to point out too, because I just love the music so much. But like, we get our first bit of, I guess it is just like the Mask of the Phantasm theme. Like the
soundtrack to this whole thing is, I love it.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It's great.
Yeah. But yeah, it's our first, because most of the music we've had so far has all been very familiar, because like it's just the animated series stuff, rejigged. But this is our first piece of like, this is a brand new score specifically for this movie and stuff. And yeah, we'll hear a lot of it throughout, but I love it, so just pointing it out.
Well, after the amazing music, we see Bruce laying flowers in the past at his parents' graves. And I assumed they were roses, so I got notes about roses. Would you say they're roses?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They're red poppies, John. What the hell's around?
I'm not a flower person. Maybe they are. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, why roses and why like one rose was my original plan to, one for each person.
Yeah. You saw that Michael Keaton movie, and he was like, oh, he did it.
Yeah.
So I guess I got to do it too.
Well, I got some notes that I found quite interesting, actually, about roses. It says here, the rose symbolises love in all its earthly and heavenly hues. It was a bit of a religious website, this. It said, used on a headstone, the rose can symbolise the one we have loved and lost, and a deep longing. It is the quintessential emblem of earthly love, and even the Virgin Mary has been nicknamed Rose. I didn't know that. I don't know.
No.
It was an American thing. Maybe I don't know. And it says, it brings together earthly and heavenly grace, as well as piercing sorrow. And I was like, well, that fits. That fits what Batman's feeling, right? Like, he sort of holds his parents up, they puts them on a pedestal, but he has the sorrow. So
I'm loving that they keep going back to earthly and heavenly. They're just like, this article itself is earthly and heavenly, and I'm in an earthly and heavenly mood after reading it.
I quite liked a very, very short poem by T.S. Eliot, capturing the eloquence of the rose. It says, Ash Wednesday, Lady of silences, calm and distressed, torn and most whole, rose of memory, rose of forgetfulness, exhausted and life-giving, worried, reposeful, the single rose is now the garden where all loves end. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I also have a poem about roses here, John. It's there used to be a graying tower alone on the sea. You became the light on the dark side of me. It's Kiss from a Rose. That was the bit.
You should have kept going, because that was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
Just the entire people said spent 5 minutes of the show just reciting the lyrics to Kiss from a Rose.
Would anybody complain?
No.
No.
And they did. Get out. Get the hell out.
You're not welcome.
I like that this scene is in the graveyard, because I can't think of a time in the animated series where he visited his parents' grave. He would go to Crime Alley. There was one episode in that specifically dealt with Crime Alley, and it was like same thing as the movie. Like on the anniversary of their death, he goes there and delivers 2 roses. So I like that this is different than that. It's young Bruce still goes to his parents' gravesite. Old Batman goes to where they were killed.
Yeah, he's got to like up it to be like, well, the grave's not getting me as angry anymore. I need to go to.
There's a lot of iterations of them being in a mausoleum on the property versus like in a I guess public cemetery. So I thought that was really interesting, because like normally he's like trekking out back to his like Gothic mausoleum.
Yeah, it's normally on the grounds, which I always found very like weird.
Yeah, I think that's bizarre. But like, it's the Waynes. It doesn't have to make sense.
Well, yeah, and rich people do what they want,
Yeah, that's in that same Harley Quinn episode. They have this grave, like this specific. It's the same design, gray design, but it is on the Wayne property, because it turns out at the end that like the big twist is that Bruce Wayne kidnapped Frank the plant because he finds out he can resurrect things, and he's actively trying to resurrect his parents.
Oh God!
And it ends with him like bringing his parents back to life, but they're zombies,
Oh,
and it's a terrible
no.
idea and stuff.
That doesn't sound like Batman.
Yeah, that's when it starts going off into like, okay, so you got a creative license. I get it. Like, you did.
Okay.
I'm sure I've seen a whole bunch of movies where that's basically the plot. Like, oh, I've resurrected my loved one and it was a terrible idea. Isn't there an X-Files that does that?
Yeah, that's Pet Cemetery. That's the
Well,
plot
it's
of
Pet Sematary. Yeah.
I think it's so funny too because like, okay, now before, if he's just going out brooding in the back, the only person who's going to see him is like Alfred. This is a public place. He's brooding in public. And I think the funniest thing to me is that he's somehow, the one time we see him in a public graveyard doing his thing as a young Bruce, he turns it into a trauma bonding meet cute situation.
It's not really, I wouldn't go to the graveyard to I'll be himbo speak, to pick up chicks. I don't think that's really where you try and meet people.
No, but for some reason, here he goes the line of like, are you talking to me, basically?
Yeah, that blows my mind. It's like, well, no. Why would she
Clearly,
be?
she's not.
Again, Andy couldn't wait for mobile phones to be invented, couldn't wait for Bluetooth. To be invented. Either to stand talking to herself in the streets, like, no, I got a headphone on, man.
To be fair, she does look odd, just sort of chatting to herself. She does. But even if Bruce just thinks, like, even if he just thinks she's nuts, just leave her alone, dude.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Well, maybe that could be either he goes to crime alley as Batman after, because it's either like, well, when I go to the graveyard, I'm always picking up chicks. Like, literally, I stood in a corner in my house and 3 of them came up to me. Like, I didn't even do anything. but it could also be that he doesn't go to the grave because there's other memories associated with that now.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, if I go there, I'll remember that, oh, that's where Andrea's mom is, right behind my parents' grave, and I'll think about that. Although, I think that's the kind of duality of what is going on with this thing, is that he uses his emotions about his parents' death to sort of drive, him forward into being Batman. And then the one thing that could have stopped him being Batman, I guess he has to completely repress as well. So it would be just too much of a dual thing to be like, it's bringing it. There's a lot of pain here, but it's tearing me in different directions now. So, and he just focus on the painting and crime alley. That's that's it.
Yeah, you have a good point though about if he goes to the grave, he'll see the one she visits. So my thought there was, well, why doesn't he? He's rich. Exhume his parents' bodies and move them to the manor, and then they'll turn into zombies. Oh.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe he's just like, well, I'm rich. I shouldn't have to move my parents.
Yeah. He should pay to have hers moved.
I'll move yours.
Oh, that'd be the ultimate dick move. She comes back to visit her.
By the cemetery.
Visits her mom's grave. It's like, well, Bruce Wayne had that moved down to like a swamp just down the road.
He's got the money and the power to do it.
It's down at the World's Fair.
It's like
Gotham's Fair.
I keep all my Andrea stuff in the one spot. So that World's Fair, I just don't go near that street. That's why the Joker can hang out there. It's like, yeah, Batman never comes down this way for some reason.
Oh, God.
But I do think it's sweet, though, because you can tell the difference between how they grieve. Like, Bruce goes and he's, like, upset. He's doing flowers. And she's like, Mom, this is what happened this week. Like, she's literally, like, got a healthy way of, like, dealing with it. Like, she's just talking to her, like, a chat. Like, I always talk to my mom this way. And he's like, what the hell is this? Like, are you bananas crazy? And she's like, you're crazy because all you do is, like, half cry in the dark. So,
He's like, you're supposed to be kneeling there in tears. What are you doing?
Yeah, you're supposed to raise your fist at the sky and vow vengeance. Isn't that what we're doing here?
Although, to be fair, though, it's actually, because we pointed out in the first week or it was last week, but there's a little move the Phantasm does when the car's careening towards him and is trying to kill Chucky Saul, and it jumps on the bonnet, and it's like, oh, it's a bit like, because Andrea saw Bruce taking on those thugs, and he does the same thing with the motorbike, and just leaps up on top of the thing, and she's like, oh, maybe Andrea kind of got that from him. It's like a little thing, like, I saw Bruce do that. But the thing is, so Andrea, as you say, Johnny, much healthier way, goes and actually talks to her parents. But the best scene in this movie is Bruce talking to his parents at the gravesite, where he's just probably like, I'll give money to the city to hire more cops, and He is getting a thing from her, but his is much more traumatic because it's really like, oh, I shouldn't have done this. This has just opened things up way too much.
Unzip me.
I can't put this back in now, damn it. But yeah, I like that as a thing. Like, yeah, he's probably definitely getting that from like, oh, talking to your parents at the grave and just standing there and moping. Yeah, there's an idea.
He like probably went back and was like, I'll just try it. It might be stupid, but I'll just try it and see what happens.
Still, I love that they keep it going in all the Creed movies. Cause that was a beautiful thing in Rocky Balboa, where you find that Adrian's that she's died and he's got a little chair that he takes out of the seat and he just sits and he reads the paper by the grave and he's just basically hanging out with his wife, but she's dead. And I love that because a lot of stuff in Rocky Balboa is like, well, it didn't make much money. We kind of Creed's the new shiny thing, but Stallone seemed to have enough to be like, no, that chair remains. He does go up and see his wife every day, and he mentions to the kid like, you go up and see your mom sometime, and that wherever you need to find Rocky, that's where he's gonna be. But it'd be weird to see Bruce Wayne in a little rickety chair with his newspaper and a little pork pie hat by the parents' grave.
It's exactly like in Rocky.
Yeah. I say too, like, it's just again, I guess the Beaumonts are, well, they're not that rich because they end up getting into loads of debt, but like, it's just the contrast between the two graves, I guess, because she's got a little thing on the floor,
plaque on the ground,
and he's just got this giant friggin' thing. It's like, you can't tell, it could be encrusted with gold from what we know. It's so ostentatious. But
I think that ties into the way they're grieving. Like, she doesn't feel the need to be ostentatious for her parents, for her mother. It's like, well, a grave isn't about that. Yeah. It's not about showing off kind of thing. Whereas Bruce is determined that everybody knows how amazing they were.
I guess his thing is it's a big gesture done in silence. Whereas hers is more like, oh, well, it's just my mom. I go and see her and I talk to her. It's not. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Like it's it's small and it's intimate. Whereas his is more like ominous and unwieldy.
Brooding. It's just brooding.
Yeah.
Well, everything he does is grandeur to make up for something. To make up for the guilt, to make up for the absence, to make up for something. It's just this every grand gesture. I'm going to throw a party to forget things. I'm going to construct a gigantic gravestone because that's what I think they deserve. And it's that inner childishness still.
Yes.
Of like that he has to outwardly express. And she's just like chilling. She's like, I fully see her put a blanket down and like have a picnic and a chat with her mom. Like, it's more intimate. Yeah. It's even if she does, John, you said something about like her having like certain women in his life having more air of class, and she has so much class to her that like she doesn't have to.
Exactly.
She just had, it's part of her aura of like the comfortability of everything.
And it makes me, as we're going through, I'm finding myself liking her more and more. I mean, I did when I watched it, but I don't know. I know she's technically like a villain.
But, whatever.
But I'm mostly on her side, right?
Villain or not, she's my fave.
Yeah. I think that's the genius of the casting and the writing. It's just like, well, it's not just some sort of, we just wanted to have a love story, and then we just wrote a very basic character. It's like, no, you really like Andrea Beaumont. You want to see them get together. She's got such a vibrant personality and a vibrant voice actress. It is just like, yeah, it really was a bummer that things didn't work out with them.
Even still, like, her as a villain, I know she murders people. I know that's bad. I get it. Morally, a huge failing. But the fact that it's people who have murdered countless of other people and swindled and have ruined Gotham's, like, parts of Gotham themselves to get to where they're probably some of the crux of how Bruce's parents died, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's almost like a weird triumphant, like she's getting the revenge, but it's not necessarily just for her. It's for all of Gotham. I don't feel bad about it.
And she's the one finally stepping up. She's going to kill the Joker. It's just like, well, you're not going to do it. I'll do it for you, for Christ's sake. Friggin' taking care of business. So yeah, in many ways, like nowadays, Andrea Beaumont be like, well, that's just like the point Red Hood makes. Just like, I'm friggin' doing the thing you won't do, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, and I mean, like, what? She had like a set, she's like, these people. And then we're good. Right. She's not going around like a crime boss, like murdering people willy-nilly.
Yeah, she's not quite the Punisher.
No. So she's just like, I got my hit list. They ruined a lot of lives, myself included. No, I just overall, I love her as a character. I wish there was more of her in Batman at large. Like, she's fantastic.
I think that's the reason she goes on to play Lois Lane. That's why, like, the Lois Lane in Satas is so good, is because they clearly saw something in Dana Delaney. It's like, oh yeah, we want that energy. We want, like, cause, she's she's sassy or anything like that, but she really does have a vibe. She is sassy. She does have the vibe. Like, she would not take any crap from anyone. Like, I do the animation of when Bruce comes again. It's so subtly done too, but like. Bruce comes and then she just turns around and is like, yes. And there's a mixture. I like that. There's a mixture of like alarm, but also annoyance. And
can I help you?
Yeah, she really feels like she's about to. This muscular man has come up behind her in an empty graveyard, and if she needs to, she will take this guy down. But also, there's a little bit. They convey a little bit of like, what the hell, like, and also like, what, you got a problem with me? Like, there's so many things going on in her inflection. And just the way they've drawn her face. It's very well done.
It's almost like this is a well-made movie.
Yeah.
What?
And touching on like the voice cast, Andrea Romano voice casted the series and this movie, and this character is named after Andrea Romano.
Yeah.
Only other note I have that I just wanted to throw in was I think it's shocking in this movie that, and particularly now we've gone into flashback, we see young Bruce. We don't get the classic animated series yellow shirt, brown suit at any point, which is it's going to want another scene of like when he has the bit of him putting on the Batman mask for the first time. There should be another bit of him up in his bedroom, like donning that yellow shirt. Alfred,
I don't miss that character model in this movie.
No, it's a hideous combination.
Yeah, Alfred is like, oh.
I've taken the liberty of getting you something new made.
That is one of Alfred's failings. It's just like, I can't believe I let you go out in that so many times. They want to look like a tasteless idiot, Alfred. Like, for God's sake, sir, you're representing your family. It's all this weight of your family.
What do you care, Alfred? It's not your family.
That's what happened between the the redesign. Was Alfred was like, your father would be ashamed of you, yellow and brown together.
Burns that suit, just burns it.
You look like
because the redesign Bruce just gets like a black suit, I think.
Yeah.
Very black,
black suit,
white tie, or white shirt, red tie. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't like the Bruce redesign. I don't mind the suit. It's just I don't like his face. I don't like the weird.
He's a little too severe.
Yeah, it's just very like no matter how it's been like 2 decades. Every time I'm still like, oh, what the hell happened there? But also wanted to mention too, just in terms of going back to Conroy making the deliberate decision to give Bruce two different voices was not from the Keaton movie. He didn't get that inspiration there. He took that from Leslie Howard's portrayal of the Scarlet Pimpernel from 1934, which you can get on YouTube because it's old as
so we're covering that.
Yeah. But he also, if you watch it right enough, there's bits of, because Scarlet Pimpernel is basically Batman. He's like an effete aristocrat who poses like a sort of ditzy idiot, but is also actually an avenging sort of force against the, monarchist forces and all this kind of stuff. And the scenes of him coming in and like, oh yes, this is I. Yes, we've heard about this Pimpernel. It's very good, very good. And then you see him in Scarlet Pimpernel, and he's very serious, and he talks very firmly and stuff like this. And apparently that's why you get lighthearted Bruce Wayne, and then Batman. Just wanted, in case anyone was out there going like, well, Michael Keaton didn't come up with it. Like, he didn't get it from him. He got it from the Scarlet Pimpernel. So there you go. One other thing though, we are asking this week though because of this been a cartoon from everyone's childhood. I want to ask you guys, have you any, was this your favorite back in the day? Do you have any other cartoons that you remember being like your jam in particular?
I have a few. obviously love the Batman animated, always, forevermore.
Nee.
The X-Men animated series, I was obsessed with.
I have to say though, I tried to do a rewatch recently.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah.
It's excruciating.
It doesn't hold up.
But it was fun at the time. And then I'm glad you're watching Justice League, because I love Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, and I rewatch it frequently because it's like a comfort show.
Oh, does that hold up, or is it just a comfort show kind of
The
thing?
Unlimited holds up a little bit more because it's like more modern, and they're doing they're bringing in extended people, like people that didn't normally get like the time of day
Spotlight.
Yeah.
in.
You got like Jeffrey Combs as the Question and stuff.
I love the Question so much. So, and then I guess non-superhero things. I loved Gargoyles
Oh,
Yes.
and
Keith David.
and Daria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gargoyles and Daria.
Daria was my my lockdown show when I was stuck in Ireland. MTV were repeating Daria at like 6 a.m. so I would record it every day.
I love it.
Are you stuck at home? Here's this depressed teenager.
That's perfect.
It's a whole vibe.
Yeah.
It's like, you hate going to school, Daria. I would kill. Just get out of the house.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Those are my like staples, I think.
Great choices.
I would say before this show, it was all about He-Man and Masters of the Universe. Like that was my jam.
Yes.
And then Ninja Turtles, and then this, and then this is when I would start to get into the other comic book stuff, X-Men, the Fox, Spider-Man animated series, and then Gargoyles for sure. But this one was always, probably my favorite of any of those shows, and it continues to be one of my favorite TV shows. I mean, it's timeless. It holds up. Every now and then you get an episode that's just not great. The one I never cared for was the Terrible Trio, and it's like a gang of 3 animal themed criminals are just robbing places, and Batman has to find out who they are, and it's of course the 3 socialite jocks that are in his circle. So
Yeah.
Well, though, that's
get some clunkers like that, but for the most part, I mean, it all just holds up.
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like when you're making that many episodes of a show,
Yeah.
you're gonna have one or two that aren't perfect. Like so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I remember as a baby roommate, as he's referred to by Sean German, but I was taking him back from nursery one day. He was going through the animated series. He was telling me about the Terrible Trio. I didn't remember the episode. And he's going like, yeah, there's like a vulture and like a rat and stuff. And I was like, no, you're thinking of Spider-Man. He's like, no. And then he showed me the episode. I was like, oh, right. I don't remember.
Just
I
repress that one.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah. And now I've rewatched it. I kind of wish I could forget it again.
Yeah.
You've gone around and gone, how dare you mention that episode to me? Now I've watched it, it's ruined my life. But we will then head off into the dark, dark night and round out this week. Would our guests like to promote anything again? Like anything new or the same as earlier in the week? Johnny, have you got anything?
Again, just hyping up the crew. Everybody go over to Movies by Minutes and find your favorite show, movie, click on it, give it a listen. Obviously, listen to more things by everybody here also. And I will plug it because you have it really, but join the Patreon.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm happy we're getting a little mini kind of burst of stuff out of Movies by Minutes, because I think there are still shows going, because there's like a Speed Minute and stuff happening right now, but like it used to be so much was happening all the time, and then it kind of died down a lot. But now recently it's been like Travis, you're back in action, and Sword Boys, of course, hurtling towards us. We're going to do Highlander, a whole bunch of stuff. It's like, it's
It
back.
goes in
Movies by
waves,
Minutes is
doesn't it?
alive and well.
Yeah. It's always been like that, isn't it? There's waves of like, people will drop off and then new ones come in. Yeah, it's always interesting, always in flux.
Can't get rid of me and John though. It's like Miami Connections. We're here all the damn time.
Well, you got Batman movies till the end of time, most likely. So
Yeah.
cool. So we're doing another Movies by Minutes meetup this year. It is in Indianapolis. If you haven't seen or heard, and we've picked a venue and a date. So Saturday, October 7th at Indie Fringe, their Basile Theater, is where we will be getting together to have some fun, talk about movies, and just have a good time. So, that's really all the information I have at this point. No tickets on sale yet or anything like that, but, just save the date and be aware of it. So.
Hey, yeah, we wish we could be there. I'm sure it'll be a great time. But
We'd love to see you.
Oh, do check that out. And as always, speak to us. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we're on everything. And look up our network, Sleepy Charlie Media, on TeePublic. You can get stickers. Someone bought some stickers the other day, and I forgot they were a thing.
Oh, that's a good point. What? We had a sale. Of course, we have millions of sales every day, booming business and all that. But you didn't tell me about the stickers, John.
Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff. They're adding new merch all the time, so check that out. And we'll be back on Monday with more Bat Minute and new guests. Ooh, see you then, Batmites.
Next time, a talk among the tombstones. A grave encounter morphs into a merry meet-cute, and a romance between the bereaved begins to take root. We discuss a boneyard dalliance as this new dyad begins to roam, and ask the crucial question, who is this chatty Cathy conversing with the catacombs? We're back in bloom on Monday, Batmites. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
Must top, stiff it,